What is up, guys? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Happy Tuesday to you. Back at it, back in the saddle. It's Tuesday night. You know that must mean that it's some time to hang out, listen to some punk rock, talk about some punk rock, go over a various punk-related category, and we're gonna do that for the next couple of hours here tonight. What is up, guys? How you doing? How's the early week treating you? Has it been good? Has it been okay? Does it already feel like the week needs to end? Are you guys ready for Friday? I hope it's going well. Hope it's all working for you guys. Hope there's no issues on your guys' side. Let me click a few things here and then we'll start getting into Blackout. Can't believe it's been 20 years since Blackout came out. What's up, Matt? What is up? All right. Got a couple of people in here filing in. Curious if this video and this stream is going to be polarizing. I'm really curious to know your guys' experiences with Blackout. I feel like it's an interesting one in the Dropkick Murphys catalog for sure. In my humble opinion, Blackout is the album with the best songs that the Dropkick Murphys ever did. As far as actual density of songs, I don't think they ever got really much better than Blackout before or since. I think they became a little bit of a parody band after Blackout because they became so famous. So it was kind of hard not to do that. They became a vessel for the things that they were promoting and the people they were involved in. And I would never say they left punk rock behind. They just became way less identifiable as a punk rock band. But tonight, we're going to talk about an album and we're going to look at a bunch of songs that were created right in the middle of their Hellcat era. That's why I put on the Hellcat shirt. You like the new album, Worn Out with the Genre? I can see that. That's kind of where I'm at with Dropkick Murphys. I still love Blackout, and that's why I'm going back to Blackout today. Not only because it's 20th anniversary in a couple of days as well, but I have a real fondness for Blackout, but not necessarily the genre that they're involved in. Now, I haven't checked out the new album. I just haven't given it the proper time. I know I heard some thoughts that maybe it's kind of similar to like a Flogging Molly type of thing, which is great. But I love when Flogging Molly does that. I don't know if I need Dropkick Murphys to do that. On top of that, we did have the new Rancid release come out a couple of days ago, and a lot of people noting some Dropkick Murphys influence on there, and that may be a little bit of the case as well. Not that there's a fatigue there, but that is definitely a bit of a house style. That's funny that the old Hellcat band maybe now influencing the original Hellcat band, which I think is just funny and an interesting thing to think about. Speaking of the new Rancid album, all of you guys are awesome. Thank you to everyone who joined me on Saturday. I kind of put that together at the last second and just decided I needed to listen to the album. And I thought, oh, what the hell, what better place to listen to the album than on stream right in front of you guys getting my instant review and reaction. The highlight video of that has gotten like the 5th most views of anything I've ever done on this channel. So thank you all for watching that, for sharing that. Thank you everyone for just kicking some butt with it and making it a successful video. More Rancid content to come in the next couple of days as we sort of ride the wave of that release. I gotta say, early reviews though, guys, I am all in on that album. I absolutely love that album. I think it is one of their best pieces of output, which is amazing considering a band that's been around, as they're advertising, 10 albums in 30 years, and they've been around, and they've even been around before that, because you have the Operation Ivy days, and a band that's really been through it in a lot of ways. To see them still putting out albums that I think are just as good as anything else they've ever released is super impressive, especially for a band of their status and stature, where they really could rest on their laurels. They could put out really basically whatever, and it would have been okay, but they decided not to do that, and I think we are all collectively better for that. All right. What do we got in here? What's up there, guys? Let me make sure this... Oh, let me set something up real quick over here, because it'll be annoying later if I don't have this set up. So hold on one second before we get into Blackout. Have you guys caught any live shows the last couple of days, last couple of weeks? Anything over the weekend? Fat Mike still got his voice just blown the hell out. That's fun, right? That's a great experience when you go and Eric Melvin and Hefe are singing most of the songs. That's a real blast. All right, so before we get started on Blackout proper, I want to do two really quick pieces of like really half-assed internet research here. I'm stealing that line from someone else. Of course, you got to go to the biggest source of all, Wikipedia. And let's see what they have. Very boilerplate stuff here for Blackout. Blackout is the fourth studio album by Dropkick Murphys, released in 2003. A music video for Walk Away, the album's first official single, was also released. The song went on to become a minor radio hit and received some minor airplay on MTV. Fields of Atherny was also released as a single. The album was released with a DVD which contained live videos for Rocky Road to Dublin and Boys on the Dock, which I keep reading about that. I did not have this DVD that came with Blackout, and I had Blackout like that summer. So I don't know how I don't remember that DVD didn't have it or what the deal was. That thing's bugging me. Okay. And that just gives the promo for all that. And then it talks about how the song like Dirty Glass was originally featured on 2002 split with Face to Face. The track Time to Go was an homage to the Boston Bruins. It was released as a promotional CD for the Bruins, also featured in Tony Hawk's Underground NHL 2005. The track This Is Your Life was featured in the 2003 video game Backyard Wrestling. Don't try this at home. I love those games. I love that series. Some of my favorite memories as a youth, going to the video store and buying those videos that probably shouldn't have been allowed to buy, if we're being honest with you. And they go on to talk about some of the other stuff that led into the Warriors Code, which is the follow-up to this one. And some of the reviews there. We'll get into a review in a second, but that kind of just sets the stage on this. I would say with this album, obviously the lineup is pretty classic era Dropkick Murphys lineup. You got Ken Casey, obviously in the mix, doing everything that he does and providing a lot of vocals, but you also have Al in the mix too. And he's provided a lot of the vocals, and he's taken the lead here. And you have, like many great punk bands, whether it's Tim and Lars, whether it's Matt Skiba and Dan Andriano, you have a nice contrast of vocals. It's always present within the Dropkick Murphys music. It sucks recently. I've seen a lot of shows that Al hasn't been able to attend. And so you only get one of the singers. And Ken Casey is cool, but he has a certain speed and a certain cadence that you don't get the contrast with him on there. So that's kind of a bummer. And furthermore, we talked a little bit earlier, based on some of the comments, that you might be burned out of the genre, or me, I was burned out on the parody that it seemed like Dropkick Murphys became. So right after this album is when they really blow up. They don't really blow up with this album. Yeah, they have some radio play, they have some MTV play, they're on some big tours, they're in a main spot on the Warped Tour. So they're in a good spot in the summer of 2003 when Blackout drops. But it's not till 2004 and the run of the Boston Red Sox to the World Series when the song Tessie really gets going. And I think at that point, the Dropkick Murphys stopped being this Celtic, Irish, kind of folk-inspired punk band from Boston that was on Hellcat Records. That was their status at the point when we reached Blackout. That's absolutely where they were and where they were situated. Once Tessie hit, I feel like we in the punk rock community, we had to set Dropkick Murphys free. They now belonged to Boston. They became like Boston's official house band. And a lot of cities have these bands that are kind of house bands, and they can be punk rock bands in many locations, especially specific locations. In some ways, the Ramones can be considered like New York's band, even though there's a lot of punk rock and other genres that come out of New York as well. There's the East Bay bands, which I think like Operation Ivy and Green Day kind of define that sound and that area. But it's a little bit different with Boston because like all of Boston, the entirety of the city is all in on the Dropkick Murphys, which when you look at like what songs came out following on the Warriors Code, only in 2005, 2 years later. If you look at how what the Warriors Code had on it, you've got what do we got there? Ship It Up to Boston along with Tessie. So they were getting big, and Ship It Up to Boston, just a huge song, like a ridiculously huge song. Almost every sporting event you watch that has a Boston team involved, you had Game 7 the other night in the NBA conference semifinals. And sure enough, the Celtics players are getting ready and they're dabbing each other up. Ship it up to Boston. Obviously, all the stuff with the Bruins, the Patriots, all those annoying Boston teams that won all the sports championships for like the last 20 years. They were all just flaunting their Dropkick Murphy-ness all over the place. And in that time period, Dropkick Murphys have been picked up by the mainstream. They did some work with like Bruce Springsteen, and had some influence there. So I'm going to say, and I thought about a lot about this coming into this stream. I don't, from our corner of the world that we like to talk about on the show. And I know that's extremely broad, because it's punk rock is an extremely broad form of music, and the influence of punk rock is huge. And there's been many punk bands that have been very successful that at least started out as a punk band, or were part of a punk scene, or toured with punk bands in some way, was associated with punk. So I have a real hesitancy to say like, oh, the Dropkick Murphys are the biggest punk band ever, or at least the biggest punk band ever from the stuff we like to talk about. Because if we're really being technical, it's like, no, that's the Offspring, no, that's Green Day. Those are the bigger bands. And then you can even argue beyond that, maybe it's AFI. And then you could argue bands that may not even be considered punk band, but just became huge, like the Paramours and the Fall Out Boys and the My Chemical Romances and all them, that became big, major pop acts. So it's kind of hard to say, well, are the Dropkick Murphys the biggest band? Well, not exactly, but I will say this. Dropkick Murphys, I think, are by far the biggest band to come out of the specific Hellcat imprint. Because you got to remember, we probably think of them a little bit as an Epitaph band, but they were more specifically a Hellcat band back in the day. Their albums came out on the Hellcat imprint, which was a part of Epitaph, so they essentially were an Epitaph band. Kind of like the Interrupters now, though. The Interrupters are, yes, an Epitaph band, but they also, their records say Hellcat on them. The Distillers were like this. So they're one of the biggest bands to ever come out of the Hellcat Epitaph scene. And just to be huge, where like, I know people in my life that know nothing about punk, that know Ship It Up to Boston. They know the culture of the Dropkick Murphys. I've even heard some weird conspiracy theories about the Dropkick Murphys. They have a huge amount of fans. They have a diverse set of fans. People, again, that you would never have ever thought or considered that would be into punk rock or into the Dropkick Murphys. So as I made that earlier point, there became a point and a time where we kind of collectively in the punk community, I feel like, had to let the Dropkick Murphys go. Now, to be fair to them, Dropkick Murphys never really abandoned punk rock. They always made very punk-influenced music. They've always toured with punk bands, gave shout-out to punk bands. So, from my perspective, those guys are always cool and didn't really change a lot. It's just they blew up. And sometimes there are results for blowing up, and that is what we had here. Let's stop wasting time. I love wasting time, but let's not do it. Thankfully, the Dropkick Murphys not only have played tons and tons of live shows over the last couple of years, or over the last couple of decades, the 2 decades since this album was released, but those shows are pretty well documented with like decent sound quality. So there's going to be plenty of clips. Instead of doing like a deep dive into the news and the surrounding circumstances around the album, as I normally like to do, we're just going to get into the songs, because I wanted to break down some of the songs, specifically the lyrics on this album. I thought personally, and I always have, that the lyrics on Blackout are amongst the best ever written. I think the songs have a lot of soul and a lot of spirit to them. And I think it comes across in the lyrics of these songs. And that's why I think this album goes beyond what you think of the Dropkick Murphys. You think of the Dropkick Murphys as some bagpipes going, a bunch of people cheering, cheers in the air, and sort of this ambient noise. And that's definitely a big part of the aesthetic appeal of the Dropkick Murphys. But something that isn't talked about as much is just how good their songwriting was, how good their songs are. And specifically what we're going to break down here is some of their lyrical content. Let me pull up my Dropkick Murphys playlist real quick for this album. I'm talking crap on Shipping Up to Boston now. I just got it in my head. Shipping Up to Boston. Okay. So, as we do that, let me set the stage here for Walk Away. Do your little buffering thing there. Let me pull up our lyrical chart though as well. Let me just add a little scene here. Bada bing, bada boom. There we go. Let's get that out of the way. Put that a little off to the side, but we have it ready for us whenever. Excuse me. Whenever we want to do a little bit of a lyrical deep dive, that'll be there for us as well. Now, as you can see on my screen, look who's introducing Dropkick Murphys. It's Conan O'Brien. Now, that's not particularly significant. If you go through the history of Conan O'Brien, a lot of the bands we talk about on this show made a stint on Conan O'Brien, along with a lot of other late night television shows. So it's not like punk rock was just completely devoid from the late night television scene, but I still think it's fairly significant when a band that we consider a punk band makes it onto any form of television, specifically network TV, the way Conan would have been presented. And I think that sort of shows, though, them being on Conan, where they were in relation to pop culture at the time of this album came out. I think back in the day, you could always tell about the relevance of a band based on how late of a night show they went on. Like if you were a band, and there's plenty of good bands that did this, but if you were on a band that was playing in the show, the guys after Conan, like whoever's in that late night spot, like over here at like 1:30 in the morning, like if you're playing on that circuit, you got a little bit way to go. Now, if you were on like the Tonight Show or the show with David Letterman, boom, you were probably made in the shade as a musical act back in this time. These late night shows were fairly important for exposure. A lot of people like to talk about like Fear on Saturday Night Live, and obviously that is huge, but some of these other performances probably shouldn't be discounted. Now, this first song, Walk Away, I think is a very, very interesting song because I didn't really get, when I heard it back in 2003, a complete Dropkick Murphys vibe off of it. It's like a fun song about like the joys and pains of marriage and the pressures that come from that, and you have a pretty cool music video. In fact, an awesome, iconic music video that goes along with this song. The Dropkick Murphys have always had really good music videos, and they've deserved credit for that for a long time. But I thought it was a little bit different type of song than a lot of the stuff I was used to with the Dropkick Murphys. I'll be honest with you. I don't know when exactly I heard it. I don't think I got this album the day it came out, which I'm looking now would have been towards like this weekend 20 years ago. I think I got this closer to headed out to see them on the Warped Tour, because they were on the Warped Tour that year. And that year at the Warped Tour, I'm curious if any of you guys remember this. There was like a CD sampler that Epitaph had. They had the little bag, you get the little swag bag with all kinds of stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. And they definitely had that. And one of the things they had was a CD sampler, which I still have around here somewhere. They had like 5 different videos. The only I really remember is it had the trailer for the Hellcat movie that would come out a couple of years ago. That was included on there. The Transplants, I want to say DJ video was on there. A couple other videos that I don't recall, but Walk Away by the Dropkick Murphys was I think how it opened, and was kind of the main event of that DVD was the music video for Walk Away. Now, obviously, due to copyright concerns, I can't really play full music videos here on the stream, so I'm going to go ahead and watch some of this live footage. In fact, we're going to watch them on Conan.
On June 10th, my next guest will release their brand new album, Blackout, and you can catch them all summer long on the Vans Warped Tour. Please welcome from Boston, Mass, Dropkick Murphys.
Already there, starting out a little bit quicker than it is in the album.
So you say about love, and you're gonna get married, raise yourself a family, how simple life can be. So when it all went wrong, and you play.
I feel a lot of punk rockers were dealing with this subject matter lyrically at the time, where I assume a lot of men in their personal lives, they're kind of in that mid to late 20s era of life where it's like, it's time to shit or get off the pot, right? Are you going to kind of commit and settle down? Are you going to keep your lifestyle going? This song sort of talks about the complications that are involved once you make those commitments. So I think it was a lyrical stew that a lot of these guys were sitting in at this time, even though these guys were relatively young compared to a lot of those guys that I'm talking about.
And just fell apart, and you ain't got the heart to finish what you started. went, got married, had yourself a family. How simple life can be. Somewhere it all went wrong, and your plan just fell apart. And you ain't got the heart to finish what you started.
And now, like, the song has just been hanging out at one register this whole time. What I love here is once you get into the chorus, it kind of turns into Dropkick Murphys, right? It really gets going. And I just love it, the wedding and the video when they're just celebrating, they're going crazy. Oh, it's awesome. Like, that looks like the funnest place to be is at that wedding in the Dropkick Murphys video. I want to do the illegal gambling that they were doing in the video. That's what I want to be doing.
You left behind the ones you said you're trying to find, and then trying to find you. The ones that you love, the ones that you left behind, the ones you said you're trying to find, and then trying to find you.
There's another thing they do great when they have the same lyrical part with one guy and then switch to the other guy, as they do with Casey here.
You walked out that door to find out where you belong, to fulfill your own selfish dreams. I think you might have forgot it. The ones that you love, the ones that you left behind, the ones that said they're trying to find, and then trying to find you. The ones that you love, the ones that you left behind, the ones that said they're trying to find, and then trying to find you. The ones that you love, the ones that you left behind, the ones that said they're trying to find, and then trying to find you.
See if there's any post interaction on this video with Conan.
That was great. Dropkick Murphys, everybody. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. That was great.
No follow-up there from Conan. What's up, 31 TV? Punk Rock Review. Got a podcast with him tomorrow talking about the new Rancid album. We're going to have a ton to say about that thing. Although I think we're both ranking it very, very high. Okay. From there, on Blackout, is where I think we get into the heart of the album. Now, I think having like working class lyrics can come across a couple of different ways. I think this whole notion of like the Dropkick Murphys being these working class heroes gets just a little overblown and gets laid on a little too thick. Not necessarily by them, but by some of the imagery and stuff that gets associated with them. With that said, they have very good songs about labor specifically. Not a lot of punk bands talk about the dynamics of labor. There's a lot of political punk, about the system, about how things aren't fair and the anger and all that. Not a lot of punk and not a lot of discourse, period, in all of media about labor. The Dropkick Murphys, though, did bring that into the fore. So I think it's appropriate as we check out the Workers song. The video itself doesn't have a very good capture to it, but we got the lyrics and we can sort of center those. Let's check out the Workers song.
Danny Smith, the driver.
Hello?
And it's going out to everybody supporting Dropkick Murphys since the beginning. It's called the Workers song.
And 31 TV, what I mean by that is like there's more to them than just that, and I think that's just kind of became what their shorthand is. I never got that line until I actually worked in a factory, and you go in there and they're doing like an evaluation of you, and they walk by with the clipboard and the stopwatch, and they time how long it took you to do that task. And that just used to piss me out, and this song would always go through my head, like, yeah, that's how they're the dehumanization, like it work happens, animization, whatever you want to call it, like, oh, that's it. And Dropkick Murphys totally hit on that emotion. Also, with the chorus here, we're the first ones to starve, we're the first ones to die. Like, it really helps in the understanding of the world. I don't think you have to have any sort of political orientation to necessarily agree or understand what they're saying there. Also, for being honest, I think almost a little Christian or Puritan, I guess Catholics with the Dropkick Murphys have been the first ones in line for that pie in the sky. Sort of the toil will pay off is the sort of ideology there. I like how they throw that little part in there about also relating the labor struggle to that of the struggle in the armed forces and who gets selected and who ultimately goes and fights, who gets recruited, all that stuff that was very much relevant in 2003. It was part of popular discourse. So, like, and I know they were technically a punk voter band, but again, I think their political issues were usually a little more labor and working class related than like the foreign policy issues talked about by punk voter. But they were in that zeitgeist, and they fit there really well. This is a cool performance. Most of you can't see it, but like it does not compare to the album version of this song, and the way all those melodies are going at once.
We're the first ones to start, we're the first ones to die, the first ones in line for that pie in the sky. We're always last with the finish it out for the worker is working with the pen. It's about we're the first ones to start, the first ones to die, the first ones in line for that pie in the sky.
So the reason why I use live footage, and I do this generally on the Tuesday streams with live footage, is twofold. One, streams tend to stay up. When you go to the monetization split, it tends to work out a little better. I have found with the use of live footage, and occasionally live footage will lead to some conversation starters for the streams. That's personally why I stick to live footage on these ones. So we're gonna go right from the Worker song to the Outcast, and it's one of those funny things because this is how I feel about Dropkick Murphys and a lot of their music. I know a ton of their songs. It's hard always to tell you what the name of the songs are because there's some songs that are just straight up ship it up to Boston, and it's there. Then there's other songs where you have to sort of tease out the meaning of the song, not so much the meaning, but the title of the song. Let's go with The Outcast now. This is from fairly recent times, I believe.
I can make the law, then I can break the law. If I can break the law, when the law break me, comes tumbling down again. I can't comprehend. There's a destiny, an nomadic state, and you're a refugee. No place to call your own. Forever I walk alone as the world goes on, forgotten by the ones you know. If they can break the law, then I can break the law. If I can break the law, will the law break me? Comes tumbling down again. I can't comprehend. There's a destiny.
And I gotta tell you, that opening lyrical part for me was always a little bit difficult to unspool, just from a perspective of, wait, what did he say exactly there? Because if you break it down, let me pull it up here. It goes, if they can make a law, then I can break a law. If I break the law, will the law break me? That just always tripped me up. It comes tumbling down again. I can't comprehend. Is it destiny? Your nomadic state? Are you a refugee? No place to call your home. Forever walk alone as the world goes on, forgotten by the ones you've known. I think there's a certain quality of a certain punky quality where they stuff in a lot of words into individual stanzas. 31 TV, it might be on the specific, when I played specific actual videos that I've gotten hurt with that. The actual songs themselves may be a little bit easier for me to manage. It might be something to think about. On that note, 31 TV, Anti-Flag is the one I've always had trouble with. They're the most litigious, I think, of any of the punk bands that I've covered on here. Stop these cravings, it's you can't stop these cravings just by praying they would say. I love on this album and on other things that the Dropkick Murphys do, they have songs that'll have 3 or 4 breakdowns within the one song. Yeah, I think there's different standards. Different bands have certain thresholds that they set through their distributors. I'm being honest, Outkast kind of in a tough spot on the album. After Walk Away and the Worker song really get going. And then we're getting to like Blackout and Black Velvet Band, really like the peaks, the intensity peaks. Outkast, I think it's a fine song. I think it's on a weird spot on the album. And so I'll be honest, sometimes it does get a little skipped over. Okay. But let's go to Black Velvet Band. We got some footage from the 03 Warped Tour, which I actually saw. I saw the Dropkick Murphys on 03 and 05 Warped Tour. They were great both times. What was weird to me is, so I like the 03 Warped Tour. Again, there's Rancid, there's the Unseen, there's all kinds of stuff. There's all kinds of stuff that I'm really into. Pennywise is on that tour. And I'm into Dropkick Murphys as well. They're in the soup of everything I go with. I would say 05, it was Dropkick Murphys and the Transplants were the two bands that I think I was most interested in seeing. And so, people would come around, like the Warped Tour staff and stuff, and they'd try to get little things for the little fans. Either, oh, who are you into? And I'd say, oh, the Transplant Dropkick Murphys, Transplant Dropkick Murphys. And at that point, all of a sudden, from 03 to 05, I really didn't snap. Dropkick Murphys had transformed into like a major band amongst the tour. And also, like, when I would say Transplants and Dropkick Murphys, again, Transplants just formed in like 2002, and this is 2005. I'd get, oh, you're into all the old bands. You're into the older bands. And I was like, well, not, I guess. It was weird. All right, let's check out Black Velvet Band. That's watch. Matt, that was my favorite one, is 04. I love 04. Like, next year when we have the 20th anniversary of 04, there's going to be like 5 videos coming out on that. Bad Religion, Alkaline Trio, yeah, that was good times. Casualties.
A neat little town they call Belfast. Apprenticed in trade I was bound, and many an hour of sweet happiness.
I remember on this tour too, when they came out, there was just a flood of people around, and all of a sudden, like, the stage turned into like a party, which I think we know that very typical now from seeing a lot of Dropkick Murphys. But my 15-year-old self, it kind of blew me away. And like the way, like, there was like just 1,000 people on the stage. Like, I've been watching bands all afternoon, and all of a sudden there was 1,000 pages. A bunch of flags came out. So flags came out in the audience, and then I want to say Ken Casey like had a Budweiser or something, took a sip of it and just threw it into the crowd, and that caused a big old commotion. And then I want to say they went from 98 to 04, good times as well, especially 98. That's a good one. I want to say they got into the set from that, but that was what a way to start out the set, was just the sort of him crumbling up the beer and just throwing it out there, and it was just like the party was on for Dropkick Murphys at that point. And they played a lot of songs from this album at that show.
Happiness I spent in that neat little town. Then bad misfortune befell me and caused me to stray from the land, far away from my friends and companions.
Also, I think Lars from Rancid and his pink mohawk sang a song with them when I saw them. That was cool.
To follow the Black Velvet Band. Time
Like, there's way less people on this stage now than there actually was at the Warped Tour when I seen them. I have a photo somewhere of, let me let the song play. Let's see if I can put it up, of their set. I took a few photos of their set. Okay, real quick, let's see. I think I found it. I don't want to go to the blackout yet. Stop. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, plenty of crescendos, man. Plenty of crescendos. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that is from the 03 Warped Tour. You can see the Irish flag right there. That's where I was. That was Dropkick Murphys coming out. That's also a Warped Tour was good. They sold disposable cameras. You remember disposable cameras before we had these kids? It'd been like a plastic thing, and you take them out and take all your photos, drop them off at the place to get them developed, and 2 weeks later you had photos. And guess what? I still have those photos. I took plenty of photos on my phone for like the last 5 years that I don't have, but this whole stack of photos from the 03 Warped Tour, and I keep it by because I reference it a lot. All right. There's going to be a Blackout. It's the name of the album. Let's hear Blackout. Now, Blackout, and I wanted to make sure that's the one, so I peeked on the Wikipedia real quick. Blackout is actually lyrics done by the legendary folk singer Woody Guthrie. They actually got endorsements from his estate, I believe, through his daughter, to use some of this. Them and Anti-Flag both did that around this time. I believe Post-War Breakout was a song that Anti-Flag took, used from Woody Guthrie. Matthew, did he do a voice impression of someone too while he did it? Good to know. Good to know. Matt Skiba signed like my forearm. I don't know what the point of that was because I had to take a shower like the next day. But he did do that in 04.
My town is big and my town is bright. My town can work and my town can fight. Nights go all over.
less teeth than the studio version for sure, but still a fun time. Now, I think they could have, if they wanted to. This is just my opinion. That was, I think that's the 5th song or 6th song in. How many songs in did we get there with Blackout? Okay, 5. You could have released a 5-song EP, called it Blackout, and I think it would have been one of the greatest EPs ever with those 5 songs. I think that was like, hey, what a good EP. However, what I do feel, as you can see on my screen, is what we're about to get into, and this album itself really gets going on about the second half and plus. Walk Away, Worker Song, Outcast, Black Velvet Band, Blackout. All good songs. All really good songs. When I was talking about the lyrics and how they really hit you and all that, it really gets going on World Full of Hate and keeps going from there. So, let's pull up World Full of Hate. Let's pull up the World Full of Hate lyrics because I think they're very, very good. And, bada bing, there you are. I saw some people had actually at the time compared this to Green Day's Good Riddance, and I get the sentiment, but no. Like, it's just a different type. Good Riddance is a fine song. Blindfold might have never ended without it. But different type of song. Like, completely different.
There's something in my mind. Am I retrieving my direction or just charging forward line? But am I everything that you wanted me to be? Have I lost that condition of connection I couldn't see? To the end, like a friend stands by you again.
Just typical old school, like South Loathing punk rock. And it's perfect. It's just what the doctor ordered at this point in the album.
And I wouldn't change a thing. Told it over before, and it's all that I know, and I wouldn't change a thing. As the years pass us by, will I still make the grade? Can I really offer anything, and will my soul be saved? Can you cleanse me of cloud the swine? Am I only falling? Father, can you keep me safe from harm?
All right, let's just break down that little section right there. As the years passes by, will I still make the grade? Can I really offer anything? And will my soul be saved? Can you cleanse me up, drive out the swine? Am I only falling farther? Can you keep me safe from harm? Very relatable, universal lyrics.
The marriage you build on a house on the hill, would you really change a thing? Correct mistakes in this world full of hate, never change.
And then that line right there, I thought always hit me because I think you're really talking about systemic change versus the power of the individual to make individual changes. Whenever he says the memories you build in the house on the hill, would you really change a thing? Correcting mistakes in a world full of hate never changes everything. I've just always felt that was every time I'd hear this after Blackout, after driving around in my old pickup truck I had back in the day, just doing that whole thing. And yes, I would do that all the time. It was a tiny truck, had no power steering. It was a real pain in the ass to drive, but it got a lot of Blackout. Trust me, that truck listened to Blackout a lot, and that part would always just kind of get me. Also didn't have AC, so I had to have both windows down. Fun times.
To the end, like a friend, stands by you again. Toe to toe, friend to foe, it's all that I know. To the end, like a friend, stands by you again, and I wouldn't change a thing. Toe to toe,
And that is The World Full of Hate. Again, where I personally feel like I personally feel like that's the part of the album that really, really kicks up. All right, let's keep it moving though. So we go from World Full of Hate to Buried Alive. There's got to be a list, like a random random number generator of like common song titles in like genres of hard rock and stuff, and I swear to God, Buried Alive is present in like all of them. Like, there's always going to be a place for a song called Buried Alive.
The one about survival is for the miners.
On the album too, it feels like we're back in blackout mode when we hit this one. Although I still think like lyrically, it's still hitting the right tones, but we had our little bit of a break on the last song, and then things just kind of get picked back up. And again, this is a working class song about working class issues. Something you just didn't always hear a lot in popular music. So it's cool that it was out there. For as much as you would consider Dropkick Murphys in this era popular music. If you get a little worn out with the Dropkick sort of sound and feel and vibe and all that, you kind of forget how fun it can be though when it's there and in a live environment and everyone's into it. Okay, are you guys ready for what song is next? I mean, it's the sentimental favorite of many, many a person who purchased this album. And one that I'm still trying to find a karaoke partner for. Now, I don't do karaoke. I don't sing. I don't perform publicly in any form or fashion. This audience I have here in front of this webcam and this microphone is the most public output or social output that I really do throughout the week. I can be pretty hermetic. But I've always wanted to do karaoke just to do The Dirty Glass. But I've never had the chance. Let me, you know what? We're telling stories and we're kind of hanging out. So, you know, the mother of my children, my wife, she likes the song The Dirty Glass. She'll sing along with it with me, but she doesn't care. It's not something top of mind. But here's something that was funny. When I was, again, a teenager, around the time this album came out, maybe the next year, I had to go pick my mom up from her job and take her to somewhere else. I forget why, like her car wasn't working or something. I had my little pickup truck. And of course, I was just blasting this all the time. And then, but I'm always blasting, you know, like a Slayer going or whatever, the stuff that, like, you know, my mom wouldn't want to hear. So I remember thinking Dropkick Murphys pretty inoffensive also, as far as that playing goes. But then the Dirty Glass came on, and it was just like, it was the funniest thing, but I still felt embarrassed. I felt embarrassed by the song. I remember my mom making the comment, like, well, I was like, a stripper going to come out of like the hood of the truck now or something, because it was just like, I was trying to be quiet about it as she was hearing the song. It was, again, not even that inappropriate of a song. It was just a funny moment. Let's check out this version, though, of the Dirty Glass, which, again, this, along with Fairy Tale of New York, and I'll say the No Use for a Name, Fairy Tale of New York, are the two that I would, again, anyone wants to do karaoke with me, please. Let's hide the lyrical. We know the lyrics to this one.
The Dirty Glass from this, their gold album, Blackout. Here they are, Dropkick Murphys.
Side note before we get started, Jimmy Kimmel was fat back in the day, man. My man was plump. Good for him. He's lost some weight. Now, of course, the version on Blackout was the second version, as mentioned earlier. The original version was on the face-to-face split. Seeing them live too, this was a huge moment when this song came on. And no, again, this is kind of cool. You have the Dropkick Murphys. You see the little logo. You probably can't see it there because my chair is in front of it on your screen. But you got the ABC logo. So this aired on network television. Again, a Hellcat band was on network television, which is pretty cool.
I was 5 years too young, a boy beyond his age, I saw it tell someone. Anyone who listened and if you were gonna care, still I welcome you with open arms, my love I did share. Darcy, Darcy, Dorothy, let me die and cry there. Wish me gin, pints of beer, I'll go for you, my darling. Yeah. You shut me off, then you showed me the door. But you always came crawling back, begging me for more. I showed you kindness and stole any time.
And I love the way this part just goes, you won't have his drink in a dirty glass.
Then you poured me my pain in a dirty glass. Yeah, you left a better bloody payless and poor. I often start to wonder how you made it through my door. My brothers knew not to quit kid registry ID. Well, you bit up more than you could chew the first day you met me. Dusty, 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 let me die crying there. And whiskey, gin, and pints of beer, I'll kill you, my darling. You weren't the first to call me mister, you won't be the last. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't, honey, we know all about your past. Listen to the big show with this major on call, you spent most of the...
Also, shout out to a pager reference. We need more pager references in songs as we talk about dead technologies. I love a good pager reference.
Nights in my bathroom stall. Yeah, you got him high, but you left him low. Mind your own business, boy. How was I to know? He was just a fiend on a no good cheap.
Bitch. I was wondering how they were going to handle that part in network TV. They left it to the audience.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
I love I was like the voice of the devil there. Happy St. Patrick's Day. The Irish devil, of course. Special Catholic devil.
Dusty, 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 let me die crying. Whiskey, gin, and pints of beer, I'll make you my darling. Dusty, 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 let me die crying. Whiskey, gin, and pints of beer, I'll make
Amazing, amazing. Even in that live, sterile network TV environment, it's still an awesome song. It'll always be an awesome song. The duet nature of it just makes it 5 stars. Amazing. All right, let's keep it moving, though, because there's going to be no let up here, is there? No, there's not. One of their most famous songs. A song, here's the thing. Dirty Glass, Kiss Me on Shit Faced, and Walk Away, Black Velvet Band, and Blackout all still remain on the live set to a certain capacity with modern Dropkick Murphys. But the other one that I think is the most prevalent, and we can look up the set list stats later on if we wanted to question this, is Fields of Atherny. Just an amazing, amazing song. Now, I remember this also being on a comp back in the day. I don't remember which comp it was on, but it was on one of the big comps. So this song, I felt like really, really spread. And obviously it's a folk cover, so it's a known song, and I think a song that helped them build their profile. This footage obviously a little more fairly recent. Second verse here that's about to hit is really where this thing picks up to, I think, as a great song. I'm curious to see in this live environment how he pulled it off. Right here. And to me, that part right there, that's the whole core of the song. That's the whole emotional core that I rebelled, they cut me down, now you must raise a child with dignity. Bam! Like that part right there, especially on the studio version, but even here, you can imagine live, everyone singing that, and it just, bam, it just smacks you in the face. Yeah, I just newer and was recorded on a little bit better stuff, I think, Matt. And look, I think on this album they use like the bagpipes and stuff judiciously, and it really helped. So, like when they have the long drug out part with the bagpipes here, I think it fits the song, serves what we've experienced on the album, and like there's really no harm, no foul to it. That's a good point, Matt. Like, I know you didn't mean it funny, but that's a funny point. Yeah, by that logic, pretty soon I'm gonna be able to just get out here and just belt out some tunes, man. He's gonna like murder that dude. Amazing, awesome. What do you say? Why don't we go to Bastards on Parade? Not Bulls on Parade, Bastards on Parade. Another one kind of like World Full of Hate that just has really, really good lyrics. Let's go ahead and put some of our lyrics up here. Let me pull it all up. Where'd you go? There you are. I have two monitors here and don't know how to manage like either one. There we go. Now we've got it. There we go. I spin unwisely, I sing, and I can't get it back, and I can't move forward, I'm broken, and I'm empty, it's over for me. If I could undo all the wrongs that I've caused, fall to my knees, wrap a sweat face and dust, but I'm just a fool of driven dust, and the world ain't gonna change for me. So what I was talking about as far as the lyrical content, this is exactly what I'm talking about here. I've lost all the time that I have in this world. I've spent it unwisely, you see. And I can't get it back, and I can't move forward. I'm broken, and I'm empty. It's over for me. If I could undo all the wrongs that I've caused, fall to my knees, pray swiftness and just. For I'm just a fool driven to dust. And the world ain't gonna change for me. So it's the combination of those lyrics, the weight of those lyrics that the guy wants to, gotta undo all the wrongs that he's caused, and he can't get back time. We can't get back these decisions we've made. And most importantly, and this is the one that like I have to remind myself still to this day on a very regular basis, the world ain't gonna change for me. Just I feel like I need that like maybe tattooed across here. The world ain't gonna change for me. Manifested memories, what that's to repeat. Let's take a chance. He hits it again. He hits those dark like lyrics here.
Someplace, try to see the young man. I swear I once was pretty. How the months do you now see? But I've taken all my chances, lost my bed, the bugger in it. It's not the precious one chance to go without it. If I could undo all the wrongs that I've caused, fall to my knees, proud of sweetness and just. But I'm just a fool of driven dust. When the world ain't gonna change for me. So come on.
Again, shout out to the song placement again on this album of where you had some of the highs like Dirty Glass and Fields of Anthony, and then you hit this just like that, and it's a little bit different pace. Kind of brings you up, brings you down, brings you up, brings you down. And apparently Saddam Hussein looks like he's just kind of floating around on our screen. Welcome to the mid 2000s, folks.
Let's see you moving, you motherfucker!
And the song's funny because they don't actually add any new lyrics or anything new. The song just kicks up. See, I think that's a little cooler than the studio version, actually.
Come on, you losers, you bastards and cheats. Vagrants and fireflies down on the street. Falling back to salvation, vindication awaits. We're marching on this Broadway street tonight. So come on, you losers, you bastards and cheats. Vagrants and fireflies down on the street. Falling back to salvation, vindication awaits. We're marching on this Broadway street tonight.
Thank you. Oh. All right. Let's keep it going with some of these later portion of the album songs. And in fact, the next two I couldn't find any live versions, so we are going to use some studio versions. First of As One, and then This Is Your Life. So let me then put the lyrics up full screen here, so we get that experience because there's no video to watch. All right.
Tonight, my son, I'll heed the call. If you'll live, then I was born. Just give me one more moment, another walk out in the sun. One more day to find some justice with your shadow by my side. Cuff me, tie me, lock me down, 'cause I'll be back to go another round. That's one!
I like that part though before he gets into it. The Just give me one more moment, another walk out in the sun, one more day to find some justice. With your shadow by my side, cut me, tie me, lock me down, because I'll be back to go another round. Beautiful.
Blood runs red beneath the knife. I give my soul to you tonight.
If we're being honest, though, you kind of understand why they never played this one live. I think it's one of the weaker songs on this album.
From early on I was on my own with no light to guide my way. Then the hand of destiny called me only now I understand. Interwoven our lives became bonded by blood, no need to be repaid. As one, my blood runs red beneath the knife. I'll give my soul to you tonight.
Long breakdown part. What did I say about multiple breakdowns?
Just give me one more moment with your shadow by my side, and we will always be together.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, feels just a hair fillery. Not the worst in the world, and definitely has redeeming moments, but I think the weakest so far of anything we've heard. The next song, also, This Is Your Life. Couldn't find any live versions, so we're gonna eat the studio version of that one as well. Just real quick as a comment here, and I don't think you can hear it on there, but the guitars are panned left to right, and I love when that's considered, right? And you do that and you put that little touch. Like, ultimately, it probably doesn't matter for like a big mass viewing experience, but whenever you're hearing it like individually, as long as you don't leave one side out completely, but if you want to pan guitars, I think that always sounds amazing. I really love the thematic element here of just the person that's worn out, they've done too much, and they've taken it too far. Like, it's kind of the age-old message of just like, grow the fuck up.
Another bloody fight. You've reached the edge where you decided that you lived out your life. Another busted knuckle taken down by a kick to the balls. You've wasted time as life shadows grown so tall. It's another busted knuckle. It's a fight you'll never win.
Which I think is another great example of that contrast that they do in their songs with the two singers right there. Can't have it. It's another broken knuckle, a fight you cannot win. Perfect contrast.
And now you bow your head in shame for a sin no one forgives. Fight, you'll never win.
that verse chorus symbioticness they've got there is beautiful. I said beautiful too many times to describe it, but that's how I feel.
Back and fingers through the bone, burning candles at you're tired of this petty life. You need a series of dull events, a 2-bit half-assed effigy of someone else's dread. Another busted knuckle taken down by a kick to the ball. You're wasting time as the shadows grow so tall. It's another busted knuckle. It's a fight you'll never win. And now you bow your head in shame for a sin no one forgives. Fight, fight, you'll never win. Tonight I'll start again. Fight, fight, you'll never win. How will I make amends? This is our life. This is our time. This is my life. Don't waste my time.
I've been hearing it for 20 years, and I always think it's about to be over right there, but it's not.
This is our life. This is our time. This is my life. This is my time. This is our life. This is our life. This is our time. This is our time. This is my life. This is my life. Don't waste my time.
Two more live tracks to go, and then we've effectively gone through Blackout.
How you doing, everybody? It's good to be back. We are the Dropkick Murphys. How you been, all right? All right. Well, let me think. What have we been up to, Al?
Lots happened, Kenny.
Oh, yeah.
Lots happened.
I know it's probably not a big sport down here, but our hockey team, the Boston Bruins, did win the Stanley Cup, and I need to acknowledge that.
And how did it go for you Boston Bruins this year, Ken Casey? How did that go? Getting eliminated by an 8 seed from Florida. I know Archivist isn't in here, but if he was, he sure would have something to say about that.
For all my friends down here with the Boston gear on. So let us get this one out of the way. It's about our team. Take it away, Timmy!
When I check my analytics, you think this stream is going to be popular within like the greater Massachusetts area? Just curious.
Go, go, back and go. No time, monkey, by the door. Give a drag, it's all a war. Like the rap, go ahead. Back and go, never quit. The bottom for out till the time's up for my boy.
I mean, if you're going to have a song about sports, though, I think you're better off with, wearing Adidas and ole, 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 ole. I think that's a better sports-related song. This sounds way better in the studio than this live version.
Time to round up the gang and take the red to the orange line.
And for the street and the country crap, make it real. When the team's in down. Go, go, back and go. No time, hockey by the door. Till the dragon's torn a war. Like the net, go ahead, back and go. Never quit, the bottom's full out till the time's up for my boy. Knock 'em down. Drop the buckets, time to go. Time to go.
Records ready.
Sounds cool, but I still think it's probably the lamest song on this album. This version doesn't sound cool. I'm just saying the song in general sounds pretty cool. All right, so let's close this album out the right way. Now, "Kiss Me I'm Shitfaced" is just a flat out ridiculous song. In fact, you know what? We've already busted that sale. I feel like listening to the album version. Let me tell a quick personal story with this song, and then we'll go ahead and get into it. So, I always loved "Kiss Me on Shitface." I've always loved the idea of the song. I've always liked the lyrical content. I've always thought it was funny. I think the phrase "shitface" is just a funny way of saying drunk, and it's something that like a certain type of people do. And so when you hear it, in a song, you think it's great. So at 05 on the Warped Tour, me, I'm a big cap guy. I got a cap that had had the clover on it, and it just said "Kiss Me I'm Shitfaced." Well, we go to the mountains later that summer and do all kinds of stuff in the mountains. And I never found that hat. And so I feel like everything we were on and doing on that trip, that hat just kind of got left to tribute. With that said, whenever you see live versions of this, which we're going to listen to the studio version, when you see live versions of it, though, there's 100,000 women on stage. Mid-30s, early 40s women, had a few celebrating Dropkick Murphys. So I'm just saying, if I'm ever single again in my life, and I need to get out there, I'm just going to stalk Dropkick Murphys concerts for them to hopefully close out with "Kiss Me I'm Shitfaced." And then I'm just going to be whatever single people do nowadays, just passing out, let's say resumes, but you wouldn't give your significant other a resume, but just saying what's up.
In the land, we're big in both Chelsea and France. I play one mean guitar and then score at the bar. There's a line of chicks waiting for their chance. So come on now, honey, I'll make you feel pretty. These other gals mean nothing to me.
I love how blatantly hammered he sounds when he's singing this too. It's sing with me, I'm shit-faced.
Let's finish these drinks and be gone for the night, 'cause I'm more than a handful, you'll see. So kiss me, I'm shit-faced. I'm soaked, I'm soiled and brown in the trousers. She kissed me, and I only bought her one round. I can bench press a car. I'm an ex-football star with degrees from both Harvard and
the great part about this song is how they hit on the spirit of the drunk dude that's telling his stories, right? Bench press a car, ex-football star, designed the Sears Tower, get made $2,000 an hour. Like every jackass at the bar is telling you about how much money they're either how broken down on the luck they are or how much money they've got, right? Those are like the two modes that dudes get into at a bar. It's exhausting after a while.
Tower, I make $2,000 an hour. I cook the world's best duck flambe. I'll take the pick of the litter, girls jockey for me. I don't need these lines to get laid. So kiss me, I'm shit-faced, I'm soaked, I'm soiled and brown in the trousers. Shake this man. A real lady's delight. See, my figure was chiseled from stone. One more for the gal, then I'll escort her home. Come last call, I'm never alone. I have a house on the hill with a red water bed that puts you Hefner's mansion to shame. With girls by the pool and Italian sports cars, I'm just here in this dump for the game. So kiss me, I'm shit-faced, I'm soaked, I'm soiled and brown in the trousers. She kissed me, and I only bought her one round. So kiss me, I'm shit-faced, I'm soaked, I'm soiled and brown in the trousers. She kissed me, and I only bought her one round. Oh, fuck it. Who am I shitting?
And now it's when the song really gets going.
I'm a pitiful sight, and I ain't all that bright. I'm definitely not chiseled from stone.
I feel like this could be a whole thing of like drunk guy psychology. It's like whatever that dude's saying at the bar, just apply the opposite logic and you'll find all the answers you need.
I'm a cheat and a liar, no woman's desire. I'll probably die cold and alone.
You will.
But just give me a chance, cause deep down inside, I swear I got a big heart of gold. I'm a monogamous man, no more one-night stands. Come on, honey, let me take you home. So kiss.
And also, ladies, that's the other thing he's going to say whenever you salt through his bullshit. It's going to be, I got a big heart of gold. I'm a monogamous man. No more one-night stands. Let me take you home. And then again, now the song, the studio version, takes on the greatness of the live version, where it just kind of starts to feel like a big party. I always thought there was one other little part there. I guess I was missing. Anyway, now this is the part where it takes like 45 minutes for all the girls to be safely escorted off of that stage. and hopefully into my loving arms. So that is Blackout by the Dropkick Murphys. To me, still holds up. Still a great album. I listen to it probably once every couple of months. Just the right album. Hit me personally at the right time. Good stuff all the way around. And I think most importantly, great lyrics and great songs. Let's see, though, what people had to say about it at the time. Now, here's a review from 2003. This is June 10th, 2003. So the day that the album was released. From punknews.org. Moldy was the name of this reviewer. With each album, Dropkick Murphys have been adding more and more Irish influence to each culminating. Excuse me, let's start that all over again. With each album, the Dropkick Murphys have been adding more and more Irish influence to each album, culminating with a large amounts of Celtic instrumentation on Sing Loud, Sing Proud. On their latest effort, the band have dropped most of the Irish instruments and arrangements from their sound and focused more on a punk sound with a folksy edge to it. I don't think they dropped a lot of it, but I 100% agree with that review, and that's why I like this album a little bit more than some of the stuff that surrounds it, which I feel like is a little more chanty, a little more Irishy, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a major part of their appeal. So I would never try to take that away. But I do think this one just kind of had the good songs, as I said earlier. This change in sound has also led to a change in the overall song structures and writing. The songs sound much more like a collective effort, with Al and Ken sharing vocals, and the rest of the band joining in the choruses, and their new pipers sounds tighter than before. The songwriting also seems more mature than before, and the lyrics have matured to deal with a variety of topics, including the plight of the working class, changes in life, life's failures, and the loss of loved ones. Always all great song topics. I like these songs much more than the party songs about drinking. Same, even though I love Kiss Me I'm Shit-Faced. They're able to show the band's talent for songwriting and provide the listener with some more real and interesting to listen to. But not to worry, the band still has plenty of Guinness-soaked songs for you. Kiss Me I'm Shit-Faced is one of the funniest songs I've heard from them and will probably be played at all their shows for a long time. It was, Moldy. It was. I thought it was odd that they included the Dirty Glass, which first appeared on the Face to Face split. I was surprised they would include a previously recorded song with their new ones. I'm not complaining, though. I bought the split, but I really like the song. I never bought the split, but I really like the song, so I was happy. There's also a DVD included with this album, which I never got, which has footage for the 2002 St. Paddy's Day show and the video of Gonna Be a Blackout Tonight, which is one of the hardest songs to date and one of the best on the album. I think the album was a big step forward for the Murphys in terms of songwriting and style. It breaks them away from the Irish punk pack and allows their talents to be showcased. I think this reviewer really hit on what I'm always saying about the Dropkick Murphys, that yes, I like the Irish stuff and it's cool and it's what gives them their unique identity. It's not why I go to the Dropkick Murphys. Dropkick Murphys, under all that veneer, have really, really good songs, and Blackout was loaded with really great songs. All right, guys, so that was Blackout, and that hits us almost around the right time. A little bit tighter of a show today, because this was not a deep dive into multiple topics. This is simply just a kind of on-the-fly album review. I believe next week, but I could be wrong. My timeline might be a little wrong. We may be just talking 2003 Warped Tour, watching tons of performances, breaking down some of the logistics. I don't know. I will have to get back to you on that. But that is going to do it for me this week, guys. I will catch you next Tuesday, same time, same place. Keep your notifications on. You never know when a pop-up stream can happen and an album